Well, hi everybody, and welcome to this latest video, which is going to be talking about tank drums arrayed in front of me. But before we go any further, you might care to please subscribe to this channel, press the notification bell next to it, and give us a thumbs up to like. That would be great. Thanks. So, the tank drum. I've got three fine examples in front of me, which I'd like to demonstrate to you. The differences, the beautiful sound some of them make, all of them make in their own ways. What are tank drums? Well, let's just pick up the first one that I'm going to play. Well, actually, the first one I played was this biggest one, but the next one that we're going to look at in more detail is this little example here. Tank drums, they're made of metal. They're like, I mean, traditionally, where do they come from? They're made out of old tanks. They're made out of old gas cylinders, all kinds of bits of disused bits of metal which they can be fashioned. Now they're designed specifically with this instrument in mind, but previously people just used found materials to make them. It's a cylindrical piece of thick metal. I'm not sure. I think people use different metals depending on what they have to hand. But the important thing is that these tongues are cut into the top, which create our tones here. So can you see? So we've got, and the most interesting thing, and I think you'll find it's very easy to hear the differences. Each of these tank drums are cut to different scales. So if I play this one, we've got, this is kind of one that you would pick up commonly, fairly inexpensive. Compared to these other two, the sound is a bit thin, it's not so resonant, but it still creates this quite pleasant little melodious, it's got quite a melodious scale to it. And as I say, these are quite inexpensive to pick up at this size and this kind of quality of craftsmanship. But let's move on to these other two, which are built by a real master craftsman. And you'll notice by the resonance of the sound, the quality is different. This one is bigger, which means that it's got a bigger sounding space within it for the sound to resonate in. But added to that, if we look underneath, as well as having these tongues cut into the top, it's got a corresponding set, can you see, cut into the bottom. Now, why are they there? They help the resonance. I've been told by the maker that they're not actually directly corresponding the top to the bottom. They're slightly cut off to create a greater resonance. I'm not quite sure about the acoustical science behind that, but I can understand why that we get more resonance through having two sets of these beautiful tongues. So I mentioned a master craftsman. If you're interested in these instruments, do drop us a line by clicking the link below, and we can give you full details about how you might obtain one. But let's have a little listen to this one. And if you remember this, That's got this particular resonance, particular scale. This is a completely different scale. Completely different scale, but also can you hear the difference in the resonance, this wonderful resounding sound that's created by this? It's almost otherworldly, and it's also, I think, a wonderful scale. This particular instrument was built by an Englishman who lives in Spain, and it feels to me he would give you the actual technical name for this scale. He's really interested in different scales for different tank drums he makes. But this one for me is very resonant, but it's also reminds me of it makes me feel like the Moorish, Andalusian, flamenco tradition in Spain. I can almost imagine a Spanish flamenco dancer moving into the space with that, or the guitarist. Very Moorish, traditional scale for me, and wonderfully resonant. So this is this big tank drum. We've got a smaller example by the same maker over here. Now, I remember what this scale is called. I can't remember what the scale on this is called, but this is called a Ragadesh scale. Really a different scale. Ragadesh gives the game away a bit. It's an Indian scale. It reminds us of that kind of, if you hit the open strings on a sitar, you might hear something that reminds you of that scale. This instrument isn't quite as resonant as this one. Why? Well, it's smaller, but it also doesn't have these corresponding tongues cut in the bottom, so it's not quite as resonant, but it still creates this beautiful sound, and it's, as I say, it's a very different scale. Oh, excuse me. I really like this scale. It's really beautiful, and for me personally, as a musician, I really like this little green tank drum, because I've got a number of instruments that are tuned to it, to its scale. It's got this, I think it's in D. So here, let's hear one here. I've got my trusty, or actually it's not mine, it's Ealing's, my partner Ealing's trusty Shruti box here, and I've got this tuned to a chord in D. And you'll hear, listen. We get some idea of how other instruments can go beautifully with these tank drums. The Shruti box, another one I've got down here, which I'll bring up, is, I think I've done a video with all these instruments playing together. You could, if you've got a partner, you could get them to play one while you play the other, but just from the point of view of demonstrating, I've got this pipe, this shepherd's overtone pipe, that looks like a stick of wood, but is actually a wonderfully versatile instrument. And this is also tuned to D, as we shall discover. So a bit difficult to do that and this at the same time, but it just at least demonstrates that we can use different instruments with these tank drums, and if you've got them in tune with them, they create lovely partnerships. Well, this has been a very brief introduction to the wonderful world of tank drums. I'm going to play you out perhaps a little piece on this big what I call Andalusian scaled tank drum. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks very much, everybody.